It was so dark. That first morning, that first day, it was so dark. The chaos swirled around, and there was nothingness, and nothingness seemed in control. It was so dark. So dark, imperceptible, inconceivable, impenetrable. Darkness, chaos, wait. And amidst the darkness, and amidst the chaos, and amidst the pressure, and amidst all these things that swirled about, a voice spoke, "Let there be light." And there was light. And creation began. In the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the darkness, in the midst of the swirling of uncertainty and oppression, the light shone. The Word spoke, and there was light. And from the light came order. And all that life needs to be there. It was so dark. It was so dark and oppressive. It was so dark and heavy. So dark and hopeless. The grief was too great. The destruction was too much. But as Mary trudged to the tomb that first day, she came not out of hope or expectation, but out of devotion and dedication. She owed it to Jesus to at least try to make sure he was prepared for death finally, completely. She owed it to Jesus to bid him goodbye in a proper way. There was no time on Friday. But in this day, this first day, each step was surrounded by a darkness that you could almost feel, was all around like a dark fog. And it was inside like a presence that she could not take away. All the guilt and shame and brokenness, all the hopes and dreams she had, all of them had come back now that Jesus was gone. The darkness flowed in like a tide. Each step was heavier and heavier, with the reality becoming more and more concrete that he was really dead. And so, in a way, was she. He was the first one that spoke to her in any semblance of humanity, any picture of compassion. The one had liberated her from those presences in her life that bound her, told her that she was a child of Abraham and Sarah, a child of God, that she mattered, and those things that surrounded her were no longer in charge. She was the first. He was the first one. But it couldn't last, apparently. And in that vacuum, only darkness remained, and chaos, and nothingness again. And the confusion of the rest of the morning didn't help. It just added to the grief, added to the confusion. They had taken him. That was even worse. And now, within all this darkness, was this sacrilege, this desecration of her Lord. She couldn't even honor him correctly. was so dark, so heavy. And her weeping wasn't just for Jesus, but for all the lost hopes and all the hurt that was inside her. It was so dark. And then a voice spoke. A voice spoke. Mary. He knew her name. He knew her name. Miriam, Mary. And she recognized the light. And she turned around to teacher. Teacher. The one. Hope beyond hope. The light burst forth from the darkness and the chaos and the oppression and the sin and the shame and all those things that she thought were not, that were there. She thought were gone, but were back. All the hurts. That one word, Mary, Miriam. And light shone. And creation, new creation, was made real. New creation was no longer theoretical, no longer theological, no longer something wise people would debate, no longer something that pastors would preach on, but something that was here, that had banished the darkness and reminded her that nothing would ever separate her from Jesus again. Nothing would ever separate her from this word that called her by name, lovingly, gracefully, hopefully, and that even death was no longer the darkness. Gift for us all. Gift for us all this Easter. In the midst of the bleakness and the darkness and the things that dare try to come back into our lives to remind us that we're not good enough, that we're never good enough, that the things we have done or didn't do are too much, comes this word, this voice. This word made flesh for us, and our names are spoken daily. You I love. You I delight in. You I smile when I think of you. And I take that darkness, just as we did in the first creation. This gospel, this John, this wonderful, beautiful, poetic gospel starts with this. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then later, the Word became flesh and lived among us, dwelt among us, and we beheld its glory. And then even later, the light shone in the darkness, but the darkness could not overcome it. That is a promise from the risen, crucified and risen Lord to you, to me, to all who will listen. You are loved. And the darkness cannot overcome you. In my name. Amen.